we have traced the heavy alabaster pillar, the spine. Now, we acknowledge the silent barrier, the thoracolumbar fascia, fascia thoracolumbalis. Visualize the lower back. You are met with a brilliant, diamond-shaped sheet of white. It shines with the luster of polished silver, or wet silk. This is a dense matrix, tighter than steel cables, yet pressed flat into a living organic sheet. It anchors heavily into the sacrum and the iliac crests of the pelvis. Imagine this sheet as a tensioned sail, a fortress wall. It is the silver skin that separates the deep movers from the surface of the world. To understand its strength, we must perceive its depth. It is composed of 3 distinct layers, fused together to form a unified pillar. The posterior layer is a dense, porcelain-like shield. It does not merely rest on the bone, it fuses into the spinous processes, covering the back like a tightly drawn blanket. Beneath lie the deeper layers, acting as separating walls, isolating the deep back muscles. These layers fuse into a single heavy seam. When you tighten your core, you are pulling on this silver diamond, turning the fascia into a rigid cylinder of support, stabilizing the heavy lumbar vertebrae in absolute tranquility. Enclosed within this sheath are the flowing rivers of red tissue encased within the alabaster banks of the thoracolumbar fascia. When these muscles contract, the dense fascia does not stretch. It forces the muscles to become hard and rigid, transforming the soft tissues into a semi-rigid column, protecting the vertebral fortress from collapsing. The thoracolumbar fascia serves an ancient purpose. It is a grand intersection, a silent architecture of balance. From above, the vast latissimus dorsi sweeps down. Its red fibers fade, dissolving into the white, glistening expanse. From below, the massive gluteus maximus arises to meet it, anchoring into the silver skin. This creates a diagonal linkage. The right shoulder connects to the left hip. Through this diamond matrix, force is transferred silently across the woven lattice, distributing the stress so that no single vertebra bears the burden alone. This fascia is not dead fabric. It is a matrix of awareness, a web of perception. In health, it glides. The layers slide over one another, like sheets of wet glass, or silk moving over porcelain, ensuring that the heavy work of the back is done with synovial silence. See the structure now. The fascia is the silver skin holding the tension, so the bones do not have to. Visualize the glistening sheet smoothing out. The tightness in the lower back is simply the fascia doing its work, holding you in a secure embrace. The fascia is strong. You can rest. Deep structural tranquility. We descend now to the absolute foundation, into the deep, heavy basin of the body. Here at the base of the spine lies a structure of immense silent power, the great white anchor, the common tendon of origin, tendo communis. This is the hidden root system. Just as a massive oak tree requires deep roots, the towering pillar of your spine requires this massive fibrous anchor. To understand the tendon, we must understand the stone. The foundation is the sacrum, os sacrum, a heavy triangular shield of alabaster. Its surface is rugged, sculpted with ridges and valleys. These are the rough teeth of the foundation, designed to hold fast. Arising from this landscape is the common tendon itself, a vast shimmering expanse of white, glistening like wet porcelain or polished silver. It is a dense matrix, layer upon layer, pressed together with immense pressure. It anchors deeply into the lumbar vertebrae, creating a continuous sealed bond. It is the aponeurosis, the flattened tendon where the great movers of the spine are born, the silver skin that encases the lower back, transforming the separate elements into a single unified fortress. Visualize the origin point. The muscles emerge from this massive white ocean, like waves rising from the sea. The tendon is the source, a bedrock of white stone and silver fiber, allowing you to rest within the strength of the anchor. From this dense root system, the power begins its ascent. The common tendon is the silent birthing ground for the massive Erector Spinae, Musculus Erector Spinae. The power travels upward through three distinct columns, like ancient trees growing from a stone ledge, rising from the outer edges, is the lateral pillar, the Iliocostalis, the rib bearer, stabilizing the outer walls of the torso. Rising from the center is the intermediate pillar, the massive Longissimus, the thickest of the cords, the primary guy wire of the spine. Rising closest to the central pillar is the medial pillar, the Spinalis. It is the most slender, acting as a fine tuner of position. All three rivers begin in the stillness. They do not start as red meat. They start as white fibrous tranquility. The function is one of silent transmission. The common tendon acts as a distributor, spreading the massive tension across the broad surface of the sacrum, turning a sharp pull into a broad, firm hold. It acts like a natural internal corset, creating a cylinder of stability. This is the hydraulic amplifier, made possible by this porcelain-like shield. Visualize this area now. See the white, glistening triangle at the base of your spine. It is a woven lattice of safety. The common tendon holds you, anchoring the cables of your back to the alabaster bedrock. The roots are deep. The anchor is set. The fortress is secure. We have established the deep central foundation. Now we direct our attention to the lateral edge, the outer pillar of the back, the Iliocostalis, Musculus Iliocostalis. Visualize it as a massive segmented cable, a woven stabilizer, ensuring the tower of the torso does not sway. It is the guardian of the ribs, the keeper of the side walls. The journey begins in the depths. It rises from the iliac crest. Picture this bony ridge as the porcelain rim of a great vessel. The fibers are fused here, locked in a permanent silent embrace. As the muscle rises, it transforms into thick, fleshy bellies, dense bundles of red power. They reach out to grip the ribs, the angle of the rib, angulus costae. The iliocostalis latches onto these bony corners, knitting the bone cage of the thorax to the grounding stability of the hips. Think of this as an external scaffold, a ladder built of living tissue, stabilizing cables running up the side of a mast. It prevents the rib cage from collapsing. It holds the fortress of the chest in a state of lifted, open tranquility. The attachment points feel like hard knots of woven silk, pressing firmly against the bone. Finally, the outer pillar reaches its summit, the Iliocostalis cervicis, leaving the broad cage to enter the mobile region of the neck. It anchors itself to the lateral wings of the neck bones, ensuring that the head does not topple to the side, creating a unified line of pull from the ear down to the hip. Its primary role is extension. Extensio. When the muscles contract, they pull the rib cage backward. They lift the heavy weight of the torso against the constant downward pull of gravity. They are the engines of upright posture, but they serve a second function: lateral flexion. When you walk, the tower wants to tip. The iliocostalis engages silently, like a tight rubber band on the side of the spine, preventing excessive sway. It ensures the center of gravity remains securely held. Visualize the texture now: dense, tightly packed fibers, bound by sheets of white fascia. The tendons are porcelain white, the bellies deep red. They are the woven ropes holding the drawbridge. But now, as you lie supported, the outer pillar can disengage. Feel the lateral edges of your back. Visualize the fingers of meat uncurling. The grip softens. The cable goes slack. The scaffold is no longer needed. The outer pillar rests. The fortress is secure. Now we turn our gaze inward to the massive central cable, the Longissimus, Musculus Longissimus. Its name is a whisper of its nature. The longest one. It is the primary guy wire of the spinal mast, a heavy river of fiber flowing upward, bridging the pelvic basin to the fortress of the skull. The journey begins in the depths. It rises from the sturdy transverse processes. Picture these projections as shelves of porcelain bone. The muscle weaves itself into them, creating an unbreakable bond. This is the meat of the lower back. As it rises, it sends out slips of tendon, like the roots of a climbing vine, anchoring to the ribs. Integrating breath with posture, it becomes more refined. The Longissimus cervicis. It navigates the vulnerable region of the neck, acting as a posterior stay, protecting the curve. Finally, it reaches its ultimate destination, the Longissimus capitis. It seeks a hard anchor on the skull. The mastoid process, processus mastoideus. That heavy, rough lump of bone behind your ear. The muscle fuses into this rock. It keeps the head proud, balancing the heavy sphere of the cranium. It is the silent sentinel that maintains the horizon of your gaze. We have traversed the broad outer ramparts of the back. We have climbed the massive cables of the central columns. Now we move inward into the deepest recess of the spinal valley. We approach the very midline of the silent architecture. Here, intimately hugging the bone itself, lies the most medial column, the spinalis, Musculus spinalis. It is not a muscle of brute force. It is not designed for heavy leverage like the outer pillars. Instead, it is a structure of elegance, precision, and dedication. It is a thin, dedicated ribbon of muscle that blends so seamlessly with the alabaster vertebrae that it is difficult to tell where the living flesh ends and the white stone begins. To understand the spinalis, you must visualize the landscape it inhabits. Down the center of your back runs a ridge of bony fins, the spinous processes. These are the sharp, roof-like projections. The spinalis does not run alongside these bones. It connects them directly. It is the muscle of the spine in the truest sense. It acts like a series of tight, vertical stitches, holding the ridge of the roof together. It occupies the deep, protective valley, deep beneath the trapezius, resting against the dense matrix of the neural arch. Its journey begins in the lower back, rising from the dense fibers of the fascia. It anchors itself to the spinous processes. From this secure origin, the muscle fibers ascend. They are slender, parallel, and refined. They travel upward to thread themselves into the upper vertebrae. Visualize this action. It is a form of anatomical lacing. The muscle binds the chest vertebrae together. In a state of extended tranquility, it ensures that the chest wall remains proud and upright by keeping the vertebral spines in perfect vertical alignment. As we ascend into the delicate region of the neck, the muscle becomes more elusive, often appearing as a mere wisp of tissue. It reaches up to touch the axis of the neck, offering a quiet, stabilizing tension. Finally, reaching the skull itself. It anchors the chain to the occipital bone, securing the heavy globe of the head to the central spinal line. What is the purpose of such a slender, deep ribbon, while the massive outer muscles perform the heavy lifting? The spinalis acts as a fine tuner. It deals with balance. When you stand, gravity constantly tests you. The spinalis reacts to these subtle shifts. It engages and releases in a quiet rhythm. It acts as a dynamic ligament, providing active tension. It prevents the vertebrae from sliding out of alignment. Imagine the texture of the spinalis now. It is not the thick red belly of a power muscle. It is pale, fibrous, and woven with white connective tissue. It serves as the final layer of soft armor, protecting the central nervous system. It provides a cushion of muscle between the hard external world and the delicate canal within. Now bring your awareness to the very center of your back. Visualize that line of bony bumps sinking into the support beneath you. Feel the thin ribbon of the spinalis muscle running along this ridge. For hours, it has been stitching the column into an upright pillar. It has been holding the tension of alignment, but now supported by the earth. The alignment is maintained by the surface you rest upon. The stitching can loosen. Visualize the spinalis softening. See the fibers lengthening between the bony spines. The connection becomes fluid. The dense matrix relaxes its grip on the alabaster bone. The ribbon uncurls. The fortress is stable without effort. There is no more need for fine-tuning. There is only stillness. Deep, medial tranquility. We have walked the perimeter of the fortress. We have inspected the massive heavy cables. But now we must descend into the deepest, most secret valleys. We must go beneath the surface armor, down to the very alabaster bedrock of the spine itself. Here, hidden in the dark, narrow grooves, live the deep watchmen of the human frame. These are the multifidus muscles, musculi multifidi. They are not long sweeping ropes. They are short, thick, and triangular. They are the woven packing material of the spine, filling the deep grooves on either side of the bone. They are the profound, silent guardians. Of the vertebral column, visualize the structure of this deep layer. It is not one single muscle, but a vast, continuous series of individual bundles. They arise from the heavy, dense anchors of the pelvis. The fibers travel obliquely, upward and inward, reaching up to grip the bones above. Imagine them as thousands of strong diagonal stitches. They lace the vertebrae together. They are the intricate woven lattice that transforms a stack of separate porcelain blocks into a unified, resilient pillar. The texture is fleshier and denser than the long cables because they lie so close to the center. They possess immense strength. When you are upright, the multifidus never truly sleeps. It is the deep watchman, while the large outer muscles move you through space. The multifidus performs a microscopic continuous vigil. It constantly monitors the position of each alabaster vertebra. It makes tiny, imperceptible adjustments. A tightening here, a release there. It protects the delicate discs from shearing forces. It is the source of your stability. For 16 hours a day, these deep grooves are filled with the hum of tension, a silent electrical vibration of duty. But now, the day is over. You have placed your body in a horizontal position. You are supported by the bed, by the earth. Gravity, which has been your adversary all day, has now become your cradle. It is time to signal the deep watchman to stand down. We initiate the process of deactivation. First, visualize the massive outer cables, the outer walls of the fortress. Feel them losing their structural integrity. The tension leaves them. They go slack. They transform from steel cables into soft, heavy rivers of fluid. They slide off the bony ridges, spreading wide and flat against the mattress. Now go deeper, beneath the thoracolumbar fascia, that shimmering silver diamond. Feel this tight sheet unwrinkling. The compression dissolves. The pressure releases. Now reach the multifidus. Whisper to the spine. The work is done. Visualize the thousands of tiny diagonal stitches, loosening their grip. The vigilant tension fades. The muscle fibers lengthen and soften. They turn into a soft, gelatinous matrix. With the muscles silent, gravity is allowed to penetrate the body completely, without the pull of the multifidus. The vertebrae are no longer held in a rigid stack. They are free to settle. Feel the lumbar vertebrae, those massive kidney-shaped blocks. Sinking downward, feel the heavy sacrum, dropping like an anchor into the deep sand of the bed. The spine is no longer a pillar. It has become a chain of pearls resting on velvet. The space between the bones expands. The intervertebral discs begin to drink in moisture. The jelly ball at the center expands, pushing the vertebrae gently apart. This is the decompressive reaction. You are growing longer. You are returning to your true length. The back is no longer solid. It has become fluid. The boundaries between the layers dissolve. There is only a single warm, heavy lake of relaxation, spreading from your shoulders to your hips. The deep Watchmen are asleep. The fortress is unguarded, for there is no enemy here. There is only safety. Feel the smooth surface of the joints gliding into their resting positions. The fluid within becomes still. You are supported by the silent architecture of the earth itself. Your internal architecture has surrendered its role. The bone is heavy. The muscle is liquid. The fascia is silk. Deep, structural, tranquility. Let the weight of the multifidus melt into the dark. Let the spine dissolve. Rest in the silence